All right. Today we have my dad, Richard Corbett, for the interviewing of managers. And so let's get this thing started. So first question, can you describe your previous and current leadership or management roles?
Sure. Well, for going on 29 years, I've been a first responder in law enforcement. So all my experiences there, it's going to be the public service industry, government, what have you. Started off as, of course, a line deputy, then moved into training where I was a field training officer. So there's leadership there, teaching policy, teaching techniques, things of that nature, giving people opportunity to demonstrate what they've learned. And it allowed me as an individual to hone my, I'm going to say not just skill, but understanding of listening as well as sharing. So effective two-way communication. And then, of course, trying my best to impress the importance of that on the people who I was training. And then I moved into a leadership position where I was supervising or leading, managing roughly 60 people on any given day. And these are individuals who had already been through training. So it gave me an opportunity to lead them to see what they needed to do their job most effectively to serve not only themselves and their own personal needs, but their partners, the organization, and the people that were sworn to protect. And then I advanced into more administrative type of leadership position. Think of it like as a principal at a school or something along those lines, where I had other leaders who were reporting to me and telling me what they needed for not only for themselves to do their job, whether it was something monetary or it's equipment related, whatever the case might be. So that put me in a position to find the resources necessary, whether it was something that we had to seek grant funding for, we partnered with other organizations. But if it's something they needed, they could articulate it well, and the justification was sound, then we do everything we could to make sure they got what they needed. For the last year and a half, I've been a captain, and I'm over all of training for our organization. We're the largest sheriff's office in North Louisiana. So with that, one aspect is our training academy, and our regional training academy serves about 100 agencies in North Louisiana. Now, we don't have 100 agencies there at one time, but over the course of the operational existence, about 24 years, that's how many we've served. In fact, we have an academy right now with about 13 different agencies in it. And what we do is we bring them in and we groom them, we mold them to what we need to serve what for us has been proven to be effective tools and the techniques of training that into the individuals. And then I also have another area that I'm responsible for, have been for about 17 years. It's called Sheriff Safety Town. And this is where we bring in youth. We bring in children from about 8 parishes, 5 Texas counties. And it's kind of a driver's ed approach where in the school, they're told what they're going to be taught. They see in an instructional setting how to apply what they're being taught. And then they come out to us with other first responders, not just the sheriff's office. We have firefighters, police officers, troopers, what have you. And they're given opportunities in a hands-on, safe, controlled environment to demonstrate what they've learned. And all of this is safety oriented. So it's that's where my leadership comes from. And a lot of it was being trained to do a job that I do now, but then also impressing upon other people the importance of listening, but also asking. If we don't know what they need, then it's difficult for us to help them meet their expectations. But we always have to be open-minded. And sometimes the answer is no, but it's important to explain why the answer is no. And maybe it's something we can work through now, but maybe it's something that's greater than that. Maybe there's a monetary facet to it that we can't overcome at this point. But always be open, always be truthful, because never compromise your integrity. And by being truthful and being concerned, be committed to the success of the people who come to you, not only for advice, but for you might be the gatekeeper to their success. And with that comes tremendous responsibility. So give them what they need to succeed. And when I say that, give them the opportunity. Don't do it for them, but give them the opportunity. And with leadership comes those opportunities. With leadership comes responsibility and the understanding of knowing when to say no, but then also when to say yes.
In taking your experience and what you just stated, can you discuss the role of leadership in shaping behavior amongst your team?
Sure, because especially in law enforcement, when you have the uniform on, people are drawn to the uniform and they see it as an authority figure. And that there can be pros and cons to that. We see that often in society, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, where it can be received multiple ways. But it's important that they understand, as a leader, people are looking at you and they're looking up to you. The way you speak, how you do your job, your actions, the way you're committed to those individuals who are part of your team. They want to emulate that. If it's good behavior, they're probably going to try to emulate it, hopefully, because that's what you want. It's what we want with our own children. But if it's bad behavior, if it's cutting corners, if it's doing things that violate your policy, that violate law, that it's just a means to an end. Some may even try to emulate that as well. And because that's the chosen path, well, guess what? If they go down, you're going down with them. Never compromise integrity. Never compromise the primary objective, which is it's a multifaceted thing. It's making sure that you stay on top and that you're always doing your job to the best of your ability, that those members that are part of your team are doing the same, that you're constantly serving, but through service, you're constantly listening. And in an occupation like we have many people to serve, and truthfully, it's everybody we serve. So everybody looks up to us. So do it right the first time. If you make mistakes, own your mistakes. Because if you're willing to own your successes, don't be too humble to own your mistakes as well, and grow from them. And hopefully the people that you lead emulate that behavior and that mindset.
Taking the growing from mistakes, how does your organization, I should say, handle performance issues and provide constructive feedback?
Through evaluations, and most of those evaluations occur early on in a person's career. And I don't think that's just limited to law enforcement or first responders. They're constantly under a microscope when they first come in, because they've already gone through this very involved application and employment process. Then they go through an academy where everything they do is scrutinized, because we want to make sure that they get to a point that, first of all, they understand the importance of the actions. They understand the importance and all of the other elements associated with the tools we provide to them, whether it's a firearm or a vehicle or even a pen. A pen is very important, especially when they're writing reports. But we're constantly gauging their progress over the course of all of this training to see, okay, are they actually going to be able to do the job that's been laid out before them? And once they get to that point, boom, then they're on their own. We want them to be successful on their own, whether they're working in a housing unit, a jail environment, or they are in a patrol unit out on their own, where not just their safety is paramount, so is the safety of those they're serving, maybe the individuals who called 911 and they're responding to that call. So we don't do as much evaluation and assessing once they have been released on their own, so to speak, and come out training. But whenever they're promoted and supervised, let me restate that. Whenever there are opportunities for them to be promoted or transferred to other areas where they're have different unique opportunities, maybe from patrol to investigations, something along those lines, there's an interview process that's involved, and everything's kind of broken down. It's how well they know the information. Do they know policy? Do they know the law? Do they know aspects of that job? So there's a test that's administered. There's also an interview. You have 3 people on there, and they take everything that's been provided to them. Like in your case, it'd be a resume, a curriculum vitae, whatever the case might be. But we're looking at what the person brings to the table. There's also a Q&A that takes place. But then we're also looking at their level of education. Have they taken the initiative to understand, or to at least impress upon others, that they understand the importance of a good quality education? Experience does go a long way, and I will never dismiss experience, but also going beyond the experience and looking what's going on maybe outside of their agency, their organization. What changes are happening out in society that maybe we can bring back, we need to be aware of, so that we can adjust to those changes, be a very fluid organization with moving targets that we're always trying to hit, and expectations that we're always trying to meet as well. But if they can prove that over the course of their career, at least up to that point, that they have an understanding of the importance of being a leader, being an effective communicator, being a great listener, and applying what's being shared with them, and taking up and being successful with that. But then also, again, when there are shortcomings, owning those shortcomings and learning from those shortcomings, just not being too proud to fail. And we understand that most people in law enforcement are type A personalities. That's fine. We understand that. but that doesn't mean they have to lie. That doesn't mean they have to compromise their integrity for the sake of their personality. Do what's necessary to get the job done, but we understand that we're not going to be doing this forever. There are other people who are following behind us, almost like the succession throughout our organization. We need to impress upon them the values that we ourselves have learned and understand are important and are applying in our daily job, so that they do the same. So you're always being watched, not just by the public because you're wearing the uniform, but by those you are tasked with leading, because you are the example they're following.
Well, thank you. I like that. So far we're about 10 minutes in. We'll try to keep this under 15 minutes max. So we'll try to maybe 2 more questions here. Next one, what measures are taken to ensure a healthy work-life balance for employees?
That's an excellent question. With our organization, we provide the medical, dental, vision, life, and even counseling services to our people at no premium cost. The organization covers that premium in full. So whenever one of the employees, they have a need, and they don't have to reach out to us, they just reach out to anybody who's on the list, and they get a need, they have to meet the copay deductible. But as far as the heavy burden of the overall cost of the premium, the agency covers that, because we understand law enforcement's been around for a long time. There's a lot of stresses that come with the job. Sometimes there are stresses in our personal life that we don't need to get into, because that's between them, their family, their God, whoever it might be. So we provide them with by making that expense, basically saying, listen, we're paying for entry for you. If you need it, you're going to know better than we do. The opportunity is there. So take advantage of it. But then also we do have, there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of chest bumping in law enforcement, because we always want to be proud. We want to be the strongest. We want to be the most capable. But we do understand there's been kind of this evolution of law enforcement over the last 30 years where we are a bit more sensitive. And I don't want that to be mistaken with weakness. It's the understanding that we are human, that we're flawed, that we do have our own weaknesses, but that makes us uniquely us. And it also makes us true to ourselves, and it's easier for people to relate to us when we realize that we're being truthful. Again, doesn't make us weak, doesn't make us less capable, but it does allow us also to more effectively communicate and understand each other in this occupation, but also those we serve. So by providing that, I think that may be what you were getting at.
Yeah, for sure. For our last question here, kind of pinging off I'm assuming it's going to ping off what you had for your second question here. But what steps does your company, the Sheriff's Department, and yourself take to maximize employee retention?
Listening, communication, no doubt. If before someone's going to walk out that door, take off that badge and lay it on the table, they're sharing something with you that's important to them. It may be a lack of opportunity. And even though they may want an opportunity that may not be available, it's important that you don't just simply say, no, it's not there, you're not ready. You have to explain to them, and you have to help them meet the expectations of whatever the demands of that job might be, because they may not know. If they were coming to you, if they are stating what's on their mind, and it's that important for them to share, listen. Being a leader requires you to, even if you have to say no, that you explain why it's no, and do so in a way that it doesn't compromise the relationship. It doesn't compromise your integrity, doesn't compromise the position of your agency, that doesn't downgrade the role that as law enforcement that we play, not only in the community, but among each other. So communication is key to everything that's needed to keep an agency intact, but also helps not only the current generation of law enforcement grow in their current positions or positions they aspire to, those individuals that we're bringing up through the ranks to replace us one day, and hopefully do our jobs even better than we do now and serve better than we do now.
Well, hey, that concludes it. I appreciate your time. Thank you again, Mr. Captain Richard Corbett, aka. I appreciate it. And,
sure.
Thank you again.
All right. Fantastic. My pleasure. I enjoyed it.